Hey everybody, let's fire up a post-election tier ranking for the most shocking results in each state. This is just at the presidential level, and we've got tiers A, B, C, D, and F. If you prefer an S tier or a Z tier or a double S tier, go for it. But this is just going to be a simple A through F. A is going to be the most shocking or the most surprising. If it's an F, that's pretty much what we were already expecting for that state anyway. Now, prior to the election, nationally, I was already expecting most states to shift about 2 to 3 points toward Trump. Of course, there might be some exceptions, and I know there's still a few votes that have yet to come in, but let's get started here. First, we've got Alabama, and this is a super red state. It moved toward Trump a little bit. I guess it moved toward him a little bit more than I would expect. Nothing too shocking. We're going to put that in D. Next, Alaska. Here's another state that got redder, probably a little more than I was expecting, but knowing it's already a red state, I'm not really that shocked. I was expecting Trump to improve on his 2020 margin. So that pretty much puts this also in D territory. Next up, Arizona. Here's one that took a decent shift toward Trump. It was also by a little bit more than I expected. I thought he would win it by a couple of points, but it looks like he's doing even better than that. But it's only a little bit off from what I was expecting. I'm not too shocked. I'm going to also put that in D. A D tier is getting crowded. Let's see what happens here on Arkansas. It moved a bit toward Trump. Nothing shocking whatsoever. This is going to go in F. Next, we've got California. It looks like this state did take a pretty big lurch toward Trump, and we also can't forget this is Kamala Harris's home state. So it definitely moved more than I was expecting. That's going to be enough to get this probably up into the B tier. Next, Colorado. Here's a state that could have even moved toward the left if Harris had a good night, but it moved toward Trump. It's not super shocking given the national environment that I was expecting going in. So I'd say it's mildly shocking, but not really. So we're going to put that in the D tier. Next, Connecticut. This one did move a little bit more toward Trump than I was anticipating. That's going to go in C. Next, Delaware. Like pretty much every state, this also moved a bit toward Trump. Not that much though, kind of in line with what I was expecting. We're going to put that in D tier. Next, it's going to be Florida. Here's Trump's home state, and this definitely did get a lot redder than I was expecting. However, because of what we saw in the midterms, I was prepared that Trump could have a good night and get this into double digits. He did. He even won Miami-Dade County by a pretty comfortable margin. I think that might be enough to just put this into the C tier. Next, Georgia. This one was basically spot on with what I was expecting. That's going to go in F. Even though it's a key battleground state, it did not really surprise me at all. Next, Hawaii. A little bit of movement there toward Trump, but nothing significant. That's going to go in F. Next, Idaho. This is a red state, but it did get a little bit redder than I was expecting, so that's going to go in D. How about Illinois? This is a blue state that definitely got a lot redder than most people were expecting. It's hovering around a 10-point margin, and like with most states, I was expecting a small shift toward Trump, but there was enough here that I was actually moderately surprised. This could go into the B tier. Let's put it next to California. Next, Indiana. It's a super red state. It didn't really surprise me much at all. I'm actually going to put this in F. Next, Iowa. A lot of talk about this state given that final Seltzer poll, and he did win it by a little bit more than I was expecting, but I'm really not too shocked by it. I'm going to put this in D. Next, we've got Kansas. Not a lot of movement here. Not super surprised that Democrats might have their sights set on this way into the future, but for now, I was not surprised. That's going to go in F. Same with Kentucky. That is borderline FD territory. I guess it got a little bit redder than I was expecting. It's borderline. I'll throw it up into D. Next, Louisiana. Again, a red state. It got a little bit redder. Is there any shock here? Not really. I'll try to even this F tier out. We'll put that in F. Next, Maine. This state actually did not really get much redder. It was close to what I was expecting. Now, after seeing the results, I'm surprised it didn't get redder like many of the other states. So if you go by that, I would put this up into C. If you go by what I was predicting, it easily goes in F. So I guess we can split the difference between the two. We'll put this in D. Next, Maryland. Extremely blue state. It's a little more red than I was anticipating. We're going to also put that in D. How about Massachusetts? It's so blue, it was difficult for me to imagine it getting even bluer, but it was a big enough improvement there. I guess I could put this into the C tier. Next, Michigan. This is just a little bit beyond what I was expecting. I predicted Harris would carry the state, but I'm not surprised at all that Trump won it. I guess I am a little more surprised that he won it by a bit of a higher margin. So it's going to be borderline. Let's put it in the middle of the pack. Next, Minnesota. I thought Tim Walz would have been able to keep this margin a little bit higher there for Harris. I think it was around a 4-point margin there. Maybe it's 5. This is one of the states that I would not have been stunned if it got even bluer than 2020 because of Walz. But because he did so poorly technically in his home state, I think that's going to be enough here to put this next to Michigan. Next, Mississippi. I don't think there's a whole lot here. We're going to put this on the bottom. Missouri. Similar situation, red state got a little redder, but nothing too shocking. Montana is the same story. I'm not stunned here that this got almost to a 20-point margin for Trump. I could see putting it in D, but I'm going to throw this one on the bottom. Next is Nebraska. This is kind of the same thing as well. Not too shocked. I'm putting this also in F. Next is Nevada. And Trump did do better here than I was expecting. Am I shocked he won the state? No. But am I kind of shocked that he won it by a relatively comfortable margin? Yeah, a little bit. I'm going to say this could get into the... We'll put it up here in C. Then we've got New Hampshire. And this isn't super shocking that it got down to about 3 points, but it is more than I was expecting. I think this is also good enough for the C tier. And then we've got New Jersey. This might be the biggest shock out of all the states. Somewhere around 6 points was not really on anybody's radar. Of the states in the Northeast, this would be the first one I would expect to get down under 10, but I didn't think the national environment was there for it. I was definitely wrong, along with pretty much everybody else. Even if it got down under 10, I thought it would be just very slightly, but it got noticeably under 10. Something has to go at the top here, and if it's going to be anything, I think it's going to be New Jersey. Next, it's New Mexico. This was a bit redder than I was expecting, but not too much. I think we could put this in D. Next, New York. This is another one that had a gigantic lurch toward Trump, way more than I was expecting. Not enough to get down to single digits, but definitely a pretty shocking swing there. I think there could be enough here to also put this next to the Garden State. We're going to do it. We're going to put it in A. Next, North Carolina. This margin, not really shocking at all for me, pretty much spot on to what I was expecting. So that's going to go in F. Next is North Dakota. I don't think there's much here. That's also going to go in F. Ohio. A little redder than I was expecting, but it's not really shocking when you consider everything. That's going to be enough to put this above F. We'll throw it into D. Oklahoma's next. Not a ton of movement here. Maybe it could have got a couple of points redder, but it was already so red they might be maxed out. But I still think this isn't really shocking at all. We're going to throw this in F, but it's going to be a high F in case that means anything. How about Oregon? Some movement here toward Trump, and once you consider their final results of all the other states, maybe there's enough here to throw this into C. How about Pennsylvania? Honestly, not shocking at all here. This is kind of exactly what I was expecting, so that's going to go on the bottom. Rhode Island. There was some movement there, but I don't think I'm as surprised as some of these other states. We could put this in the C or the D. Let's just throw it in the D tier. South Carolina is next. Again, a little bit of movement toward Trump. It's a red state, but nothing really surprising. It's going on the bottom. South Dakota is going to be the same thing. That's going on the bottom. Tennessee had a little bit of movement there, probably a little more than I was expecting, and maybe that's enough to put this in D. Texas, how about that state? Definitely more movement there than I was expecting toward Trump. Considering the blue trends we've seen over the past few cycles, Trump did an outstanding job there, so I think this is actually going to go higher up. We'll put this in the B tier. Next, it's going to be Utah. Almost no movement in this state. Maybe it trends toward the left in the future. So considering it didn't move maybe 2 or 3 points toward Trump, I think that's enough there to put this in D tier. About Vermont? This could be another state where it got even bluer compared to 2020. I may be forgetting the exact margin, but I know it wasn't super shocking, but not completely unshocking. We'll put it in the D tier. Virginia is next. This one was a little bit redder than I was expecting. I was thinking about 7 to 8 for Harris, so it's another borderline C-D. We'll put this one in C. Washington, D.C. Not shocked at all. It's so blue, they didn't really move toward Trump. It's going to go in F. Now, Washington State, this might be the only state that actually did swing toward Harris. That is surprising considering everything else we've seen. I thought it could have easily moved 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 points toward Trump. Not at all the case, so in that sense, it's surprising that it did not move with the rest of the country. Now, it was close, but still, that could be an argument to put this higher up, possibly in the B tier. Since we've only got 3, let's do it. Let's put this up in B. Next is West Virginia. Not really surprised here in the slightest that that's going on the bottom. Next is Wisconsin. This is also pretty much exactly in line with what I was expecting, so it has to go in F. And finally, Wyoming is going to be the same story. It's very red, only a little bit of movement there. Not shocked at all, so that's going on the bottom. And there's your tiers. And of course, you could spend a ton of time trying to tweak these, and I might even do a couple of quick tweaks here at the end myself. I'm going to move Kentucky down to F, because I don't think it was just quite as much of a shift, and Oklahoma is going to go up to D because I think that should have been a little bit more. Rhode Island is also going to go up higher into the C tier, and Oregon is going to go down into D, and Maryland, that's got to go up just a little bit higher. That shift is just a bit more than I was expecting, and there could always be more. Maybe you move Vermont, maybe you move California, but for the most part, I think I'm satisfied with these tiers. I try to be as consistent as I can, but you're definitely going to have some different criteria. But the bottom line is tiers A, B, and arguably C were going to be the most surprising. Most of F and D didn't really throw us any curveballs, but I get it, some of these are borderline. A couple in C might might want to drop down to D. Couple in F, you might want to bump up to D. You could go on and on about it, but these are the tiers that I settle on for the most shocking results. So let me know in the comments, how would your tiers look? Was there anything more shocking than New Jersey and New York? Maybe you have a different way of thinking about it entirely. Your expectations might have been very different going into that election, but let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.